Welcome back to the workshop. So last time we finally got the main table mounted up. We had a few issues along the way, but we finally got it sorted. So we now have motion in X and motion in Y. So next thing we need to look at is the readouts. Okay, so these are the digital readouts that Banggood sent me a long time ago. If you wind back through the videos, you'll see I did a review on these and I installed the Z-axis one on there and the display. And I'm sure you've seen these all over the place, but just in case you didn't know, they have a read head here and the read head slides backwards and forwards. Now it doesn't matter if you make the read head slide or if that's stationary and the main body slides. As long as you've got relative movement, it will pick that up and send it out through here onto the digital readout display. So I've got two of these. I've got the short one for the y-axis when the table moves front to back like that, and then I've got a much longer one here for when the table moves side to side, or the x-axis. And a couple of things just to note on them. So they can in theory be mounted any way up, the gravity doesn't matter, so they could be that way, any direction, but you probably want to mount them with this facing down. This is like a kind of protective strip that opens up. It allows the read head to slide backwards and forwards, and you don't really want chips and dirt dropping inside the mechanism. So it's probably best to mount them either like that or ideally like that. Now that does mean that sometimes the bracketry has to be a little bit complicated, but I think it's worth it just to protect them. So let's offer this one up and I'll show you where I think I'm going to put this. So I think what I've decided to do, I've thought about all different options and the ways to do it, but I think my best option is I'm going to mount the main body onto this piece here, onto the knee that doesn't move, like that, and then I can have it facing down. And then I need a bracket that goes from here that goes onto the read head. Now that makes it a little bit awkward because I ideally need to get behind here, so a bracket that starts on this bit that moves and then connects onto that head. So what I'm going to do is mount a bracket onto there, goes behind the main body and comes up and under and mounts underneath here. And then to do that I need to space this away just slightly so I can get the bracket behind, and that way I've got the cable going out that way, I've got the main unit facing down, and I've got plenty of travel. So that's quite a neat way to do it, I think. So to make that work we need to make some spacers. Okay, and there they are. So those will go behind the main digital readout body, and then I'll just space it away. So let's put that together. So as you can see in CAD, I've already marked out, drilled and tapped the 2 holes. They're just tapped for M5, so nothing special there. Here's our digital readout unit. So now bolt through first. It's a bit fiddly. And then our space there. Just get that started. Okay, and then the other side. Okay, now the camera's in the way, so I can't really see what I'm doing. Okay, we're not going to worry about getting it level just at the moment. I'm just going to see what it looks like. Okay, so there it is. Alright. Looks like that's going to work okay. So what we need to do now is make the bracket, and it fixes on here, and it goes behind that gap, comes out underneath, and then it's kind of an L shape, and then it bolts in under here. So I've got the parts over on the workbench. Let's go and have a look. Okay, so here's the drawing for the bracket that holds the Y-axis read head on. So nothing too complicated. We're going to start with some 6mm box section. I'll show you that in a minute. It just needs a few pockets putting in it, a few holes drilled out, and that kind of thing. So nothing too complicated. I was trying to find a little bit of stock to go along with it, and I found this. This was off maybe Mark II of my CNC machine. It was one of the kind of side towers, and then the gantry came off across here. It's quite nice because it's quite heavy wall. I think 6mm there, and we need to get what was that? We need to get it 80. Yes, there's enough there, and then 24 down to there. Yeah, so there's enough there without going into any of these bits which have already got holes in. So we'll chop this out, machine this down, drill out the holes, and then we can go and mount it. So as you can see, my new bandsaw's found a home right next to the lathe. That means if you're cutting stock to length, it's handy, or if you're just trying to part something off that's really deep, maybe too deep, you can go and use this. So that fits quite nicely. So since we got it, let's give it a go and see how it gets on with this aluminium box section. I'll turn it up to maximum for the aluminium alloy. You'll see my first impressions of this saw. I put a video out not long ago. I'll put a link to that if you're interested. Right, let's get going. There it is. That was pretty quick and effortless. Seems to do very well on this stuff. And after all that machining, here it is. So I've got that little recess there, or that cutaway, just to make sure it clears here, because this is going to slide relative to that. Right, so let's fit it on there and see what we've got. See if I've drilled and tapped these deep enough, or if I need some longer bolts. Oh, that's going to work. I'll leave them a little loose for now, so we'll see where the DRO ends up. Okay, now for the fiddly bit, which is the readout itself. So I've got to get that through there. Spacer. Okay, I've got to get it all dialed in, get this leveled up, and then see where this wants to sit. So they're kind of spring loaded, so I need to get it all set and then get that screwed in there. And now before we do all that, I need to get a dial indicator on here and run it along this body to get it flat this way, and then I'll just see how much run out we've got this way, hopefully pretty minimal. Otherwise I'll have to turn down one of the spacers slightly just to get it back in line. So we'll get this set. Actually, before we need to do that, we need to know roughly. Okay, yeah, I think what we need to do is have this loose, have the bracket clamped and bolted tight there, and then we can dial this in level, and then that will bring this and the bracket into level as one. Yeah, that's how we'll do it. Right, let's get that set up. Right, we'll sweep that and just see how bad it is. So we're currently on 30. Okay, so it's coming downhill. Let's try it again. Right, I think it's going to take a little bit of fiddling about, so we'll get this dialed in, then bring you back. Okay, and after a bit of alignment, we've now got this. So I think we'll go with that. Right, let's get this now aligned to that, and hopefully that'll be it. Then we'll just check along here and just see what we got. Okay, so I've got a different dial test indicator now running along this edge. Now there's quite a lot of tolerance this way. I mean, there is the other way as well, but there's also this way. So as long as it's within 0.2 millimeters, something like that, I'm not going to play around with it because that should be fine. Oh, that's the end somewhere there. 0.08. So yeah, I'm not going to touch that. Back to 0. Yeah, that's fine. Come on, there we go. And it should just slide out. Right, this might go the wrong way, I don't know, but let's see. So this should move y-axis. Look at that. Let's go all the way across. Let's zero that. Now, just off camera, I did do a dry run, and what I've got to be careful of, it's possible to move this axis further across than the travel we've got here, and it overhangs quite a lot, so I'll have to put a physical stop to make sure you don't come too far this way. You know, if you be carried away lining something up on here, and you might damage the readout, so it's somewhere around here. Just got to be careful, it's going to run out of travel. Somewhere about there, yeah. So what we've got, 137mm of travel, so yeah, it's always going to be lower on the Y, but that's what we got, and the main thing is, it's working really well. So let me just show you that overhang. So I think you can see here, this is just about somewhere there. It's come to the end of its travel, and then this is overhanging a bit, but if I wanted to I could keep winding and it would move a bit more, so I'll have to put some kind of limit on there. But yeah, we have a working y-axis. Nice. So you probably noticed that the display was going the wrong way there when the table was moving. So because we've got the chuck here, when the table's going that way, the chuck is effectively moving this way or towards the bottom corner, and 0 is down here. So we want this to be 0 or moving negative, and that way to be positive. Okay, to get into the menu we need to hold down the enter key to switch it on. Runs through a little boot up sequence, and then are in setup. Now if remember, the menus go opposite, so I think we need to go up to direction, yep. And it's the y-axis. Turn that around, okay. And then we come out to exit. Okay, so now when we move it, it should move the right way. Okay, so we'll zero the Y. So now we move that way, it should go more negative. Okay. I suppose actually, what we should do, is we'll go as far as we can that way. It's there, let's zero it. Positive. Okay, we'll be careful on the limit. Okay, yeah, so that's plus 129 and then that's 0, so that's correct. Okay, onward. Now I should mention that I've got some covers like this, which I think will go on there like that. Now this is deliberately long. This is the Z one at the back, which I'm not going to use, so it's the long one, because I want to use it to manage the cable. So this will clip onto the inside of there and take it to about there, and then that gets it around the corner, and then when it goes up and down it's not rubbing, and then it can go up to the display. But we'll leave that for a bit because we also want the cable from the X-axis to run underneath there as well, and I just want to work out where that's going to go before we commit to where this ends up, and then again how long it's going to be. So we'll do that a little bit later, or possibly in a later video. Right, let's move on to the X-axis. Okay, so here's the DRO for the X-axis. Now there's a couple of options here, so let's take you through those, and then I think I've decided which one I'm going to do. Let me show you my thought process anyway. So let's call this option 1. So that would end up going onto there, into those holes that are already drilled and tapped, like that, and then the reed head would go somewhere over there and screw directly into this piece, because this is obviously going to move relative to that. So get that screwed into there. And that's great, it's nice and neat, it's compact. I think we can get it just below the surface here, but as you can see, we have a bit of a problem down here, is that the locking screws, I can't even get the lock nuts on, and it's actually hitting the threads. I want to go down a little bit further than that. So we do have a little bit of a problem there, and equally with the locking screws. So there's one there, actually there's one behind here that would lock the axis off, and that one's completely covered in about one of the only places you can get that, because the kind of handle's in the way if you go here. So that is option 1. It's quite neat and compact, but it blocks off access to the gib adjustments and the locking screws. Okay, so option 2 is to turn it around 90 degrees like that. So now we've got plenty of access to all the gibs and the locking screws. We can get the locking nuts on. We can sink this down a little bit higher so we can get a cover on over the top and protect it. It does need a bracket that would come off here that's a little bit complicated, because kind of Z-shaped or something like that would hold onto there, or maybe pick up off the underside. So it's got some kind of pros and cons, but as I say, it does give you access to all the gib screws and the locking screws, so that's option 2. Well, of those two options, which would you go for? This way round, but it blocks off these, or this way round, where they're clear, but this is a bit more exposed and you've got a bigger bracket and it sort of interferes with the hand wheel a little bit? Well, I think on balance I'm going to go with this option. I just like it, it looks a lot neater. But then we've got the problem of the gib screws and the locking screw. So let me bring you in a bit closer and I'll show you what I think I'm going to do for those. So I'll put a G by the gib screws, that's the gib. I'll put an L by the lock, that's gib. That's a gib one as well. That's a lock. And then there's a gib one over there. Although I guess you could mix them up a little bit, but that's as they were supposed to be used. So you got a lock there and lock there. So first decision I've made is, well, this one's blanked out by the reed head, so I can't get anything sensible that doesn't cover that up. So we won't use that lock. We'll just use the one lock. I think that's going to be okay to hold the table in position. So I'm going to go with that. Just use that one. And then we've got the gibs. So what we'll do here, I'm going to unscrew these. I may end up cutting these down, not sure. But you can see they've got that nice little end, and I think that one there engages on the back of the gib in a small hole. So we probably want to keep that feature. But what I want to do is I've got these little grub screws. So chop these down, cut that little slot in it again. So these are very short, and then these are well recessed into there. And then add a locking grub screw on, so this will be under the surface and under flush. So we'll get it all dialed in so the table's got the right kind of preload on it. And then it does mean we'd have to then set up the DRO on top of that and get that level. And if you want to adjust it, you have to take the DRO off. But it's the price I'm willing to pay, so I think that's what I'm going to go for. Okay, something like this. So I've just cut that down, cut a slot in it. I'll get that in first. Thinner screwdriver. Okay, it's just caught it, and then we'll lock it off with a grub screw. If I've done my calculations right, this should be under flush somewhere there. Be a bit careful, I don't want to damage the head. There we go. So that's what we're going to do for the gibs. So I've got another 1, 2, 3 to make. Okay, and the last one. Now for this one, the screw that I've put in first goes into a hole inside the gib, so it goes in a bit further. So I'm expecting this should go further as well. Oh, there we go, yeah. And let's lock that off. Alright, now I've adjusted the tension on these before I put the grub screws in, so hopefully that'll move nice and smoothly. Maybe a touch on the tight side. Maybe I'll see how we go. It might bed in on those gibs, and then we'll see. But we can always come back and adjust it. Okay, another job done. Okay, I've just got the X-axis DRO mounted. Just got it slightly under flush, because when I come to fit these covers on, I want to make sure but it's just slightly below this surface. So if you've got a big part, it doesn't interfere with that. So I've got that set pretty close now. It's just under. And then just here we've got a dial test indicator. So we've moved the axis all the way to this side. And we've got that on 40 at the moment. And we'll just whiz it back and just see where we're at. It's probably not going to be level, but this is our start point. There we go. Well, that's not bad where it is. Like maybe it's slightly bowed even. Yeah, well, so you know what, I'm going to go with that. That's well within tolerance, so we'll tighten that up, and then we need to mark the holes for the reed head. Okay, so we've got it all set up. This is now pretty flat. That's now tapped into there. And I just fired that up and just gave a little dry run, and this happens. Nothing. Went into panic and I thought, oh, I've broken it, you know, hit it too hard, something's happened. And then I realised you need to plug it in. Okay, so we'll go this way, which is towards 0, so it should go more negative on the X. If it doesn't, then we'll just switch it around like we did on the Y-axis. Let's see if it works. So we're going to go that way. That's going more positive. Okay, it's the wrong way. But it's working. Okay, I'll swap that round, and then we need to take the guide out down here. Try and catch it. Yep. Where's that gone? Uh-huh. There's one down there. Might as well put this here to start with. Nope. Yeah. Ah. Oh no, where did that go? Well, I don't know where that screw went, but I probably won't be needing it again anyway. If I do, I've always got one. Okay, should just slide out. Okay. Well, I'm really pleased with that. That's excellent. So we now got our Y-axis, it's moving in the correct sense, and then we've got X as well, moving nicely. Now I've still got a little bit of tidying up to do with the wires down here, so that will be part of this. So I think the idea is this will be bolted onto that bracket at the back there, something like that. It'll be cut to length obviously, but it will reach around the back to, and then this one can sit on top of there and go all the way across. Like that. It'll be a little bit shorter, but it'll be something like that. And then the one that's underneath, that will be cable tied up to there as well. So those will move nicely. Right. that's the future plan. Okay, well, I'm really pleased with that. That's great to have those finally mounted up. I've still got a bit of work to do, tidying the cables and putting the covers on and so on, and we've got to come to the lock mechanism on here. But basically we've got a readout on Y, a readout on X, and a readout for Z. I'm really pleased to have got those DROs sorted out. That's another big job ticked off the list. Yeah, great progress. So we're going to finish off this video here. All that remains to be said is thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.